Welcome back to MMA Al Dente. I am the guy who picked Joe Lozon to defeat Sam Stout. And I'm here to talk about Jailton Almeida versus Jairzinho Rozenstruik, main event for this weekend's fight card. This is pretty much a striker versus grappler main event. Striker versus grappler. Jailton, of course, is the grappler. He is a monster. He's a guy who I and many others were saying his ceiling is two-weight champion, light heavyweight and heavyweight. And now I think he's just a heavyweight. I don't know if he's going back down, but whatever. His ceiling is always going to be championship until I see him start to lose. You know, he's lost twice, of course, but inside the UFC, he's looked perfect. Perfect. He got punched once against Shamil Abdurakhimov. And you have to look to those moments. Oh, he got punched because there's nothing else going against him. He's gotten flawless victories in pretty much every one of his UFC fights. And the reason I guess that punch was so exciting is he was knocked out once. It's one of his two losses outside the UFC. And it's only two losses. One knockout in 16 seconds to this guy, Thiago Moreira. 16 seconds, he caught him cold and knocked him dead. And then he's got another loss, a decision to Bruno Assis, who's a capable Brazilian. But Jailton, again, the way he's looked inside the UFC, the sky's the limit. This guy, I'd be excited to see him fight anybody. Anybody. John Jones, whoever else. But still, he's got to be tested. And Jairzinho Rozenstruik, while he's definitely a test in a lot of different ways, he's a guy that if Jailton beats him, it's probably going to be him smoking him in one round. Honestly, I think either guy, if they get a victory, it's going to end early. Of course, I heavily favor Jailton Almeida, as does Stevie the Cat. But Jailton, he should win this fight. He's big, strong, athletic. Yeah, I know he's coming up from light heavyweight, but still, he's a solid heavyweight at this point and carries his weight well. And even though I've never seen Rozenstruik finished on the ground, he's a guy that I expect just to be exploited. I think if Jailton gets him down, he's going to cut through his guard like butter, sit on his chest or back, somewhere on his torso, and finish him with strikes or submissions. Yeah, and that's just how I see it going. Of course, if Rozenstruik's able to defend the takedown, or not even, just catch him cold, I think he's got the requisite power, certainly, to knock out any sort of a weak chin. You know, which Jailton, it's not like it's been weakened. He's just got one knockout loss. But if his chin happens to be weak, because he hasn't been hit a lot, Jairzinho is certainly one of the top candidates to find the finish. Maybe the hardest hitter after Pavlovich and Ngannou. Although I don't know if Ngannou is still alive anymore. I haven't heard from him. But he texts me all the time. Jairzinho, he's put away enough guys where we've seen him put away guys with jabs inside the UFC. I don't know if they were exactly jabs. Maybe it was just like a stiff kind of left hook or whatever, but he's knocked down Alan Crowder, Andrei Arlovsky, leaping left hook, I believe, on Alistair Overeem at the final few seconds of a fifth round fight in which he was getting his ass kicked. So he's definitely got power in every hand, and he carries it till the 25th minute. But here I think his chances are relegated to a first round knockout. Unless, of course, he's just able to stuff takedowns from Jailton Almeida and keep the fight standing. Then I suppose the finish could come at any moment. But I don't think he's going to be able to defend takedowns. I think Jailton's wrestling is going to be good enough. He's a big, strong athlete. He can fly across the octagon in a split second. And I think Jairzinho is just too slow and plodding and too vulnerable as a grappler. This guy, he hasn't shown that much. Even in his UFC career. He's been training on the ground and everything, but he's a very limited fighter. And whereas a guy like Curtis Blades is awesome and, the best heavyweight wrestler, he's not a jiu-jitsu guy like Jailton Almeida. Jailton Almeida is a guy that's, he's a born finisher. I mean, this guy, he's got 18 wins, 18 finishes, 7 by TKO, 11 by submission. He's a fucking monster. And even though I've never seen Jairzinho finish on the ground, I expect Jailton to get the finish. Jairzinho's only been knocked out twice. Ngannou and Volkov, both standing up and both in round one. And then he lost decisions to Cyril Gane and Curtis Blades. only elite fighters, tippy top heavyweights in the UFC in their primes have beaten Jairzinho Rozenstruik. But still, I think Jailton Almeida is going to walk through him, run through him in a way that nobody else has. This guy is an exceptional fighter, and he's a very unique fighter. And Jairzinho Rozenstruik's the perfect guy to play foil to that. The perfect guy for Jailton to devour up and separate himself from guys even like Curtis Blades. My pick for the fight is Jailton winning in round 1. Couldn't tell you if it's knockout or submission. I mean TKO or submission. But I've been on it at round 1 at even money. I am very sure this fight ends early. And I've also sprinkled something on Jairzinho round 1 knockout, which I think is overwhelmingly his primary path to victory. And that's at plus 1,200. They fucking got that wrong. But still, that's just a hedge. My pick and bet is Jailton Almeida, round 1. Some sort of steamrolling, knockout, submission, whatever. Like, share, subscribe, all that horse shit. Check out my other videos.